welcome to the GlobalSpa Wellfest 2021. GlobalSpa is India's first homegrown wellness magazine covering various aspects of life and bringing it to the readers in print and digital format. And today we are here for a discussion with our wonderful panelists. And as we go forward, I'd just like to introduce myself. I'm Latika. I will be moderating this session. I am an NLP coach, a life coach who practices psychology and NLP together to work one-on-one with clients. And, as the times have changed, the pandemic has completely altered corporate culture and triggered a massive shift in priorities for organizations and employees alike. As per many researchers and studies by mental health foundations, millennials have reported high stress levels as compared to people who are over 72 years of age, due to various factors, amongst which uncertainty is topping the chart. The mental health issues have led them to feel overwhelmed to cope up with the current scenarios. All of this together has had an immense impact at their respective workplaces and their performances. So let us hear it out from the experts of the industry. What is their take on this situation? To share their experience, we have with us Lovina. She's a pioneer of innovative spa therapies in India. She's a corporate wellness coach and a spa consultant with more than 2 decades of experience in the industry. Her impactful workshops are designed to increase the happiness, health, and fulfillment of employees. Some of the most notable clients include Tata Sky, Edelweiss, and Hindustan Unilever. We also have with us Ektaa Sibal, who is India's leading self-transformation specialist, a certified wellness and life coach, international meditation guru, and national well-being advisor to the Shipping Corporation of India, a Government of India enterprise. Through her work, she has transformed more than 1 lakh lives, including business leaders, top global executives, industrialists, and active political leaders of the country. And we have with us Mr. Sujitesh, who is a CHRO, a mentor for digital startups, and has been recognized among the 100 top HR minds in India by the World HRD Congress. Over more than 2 decades of experience, he has transformed talent acquisition and organizational effectiveness. He also acts as a guest faculty at leading universities, including IIMs. And then we have with us Ms. Rupinder Kaur, who is a results coach and a management consultant. She works globally with entrepreneurs, directors, corporate leaders, diplomats, Indian royals, and other individuals from various walks of life in the span of 18 years. Rupinder has a record of outshining the expected results through her well-researched scientific approach in the field of neuroscience, be it business numbers, relationship alignment, emotional balance, or personal development. So as we go forward with this session, I would like to give all of you a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
And I'd like to start with Ektaa. I'm curious to know, you've conducted over 500 virtual sessions, since this is the trend now, and coaching sessions over the course of pandemic. How do you think this pandemic has affected employees and companies?
I guess it has impacted everybody directly or indirectly. And I do believe that, this pandemic has also brought out certain important aspects that were probably not being looked at before the pandemic had hit us, which was well-being. So I had been working in this area of well-being for more than a decade now, and I had seen before the pandemic how people would relate to well-being. It was more about physical well-being that people would talk about more, that okay, we'll put it in a gym machine in our office, in our corporate office, or we'll have someone come and conduct a yoga session for employees, but on a sporadic basis. Nothing was done on a consistent basis. But during the pandemic, I saw there was a lot of change in the feelings and the emotions of the organizations, the leaders of the organizations, where they felt that there was an inherent need to give importance to the well-being of their employees. which meant not just from the physical aspect, but also from the emotional, mental, spiritual aspect as well. Because everybody realized that, anybody who's going through a tough time, it was important for them to be resilient. And resilience just doesn't come by talking about it. It is all about experiencing it and going through the tough time and standing tall during the tough times as well. So, I was fortunate enough to be given that opportunity to help people to come out of those times during the first wave and the second wave. So I was, conducting a lot of sessions for hospitals as well, frontliners, which probably gave another perspective to me as well, because they were the ones who were standing in front of they were the frontliners in that war of the pandemic which had hit us, and nobody knew what was happening, and so were they. They were absolutely clueless, and at that time they needed that, the morale or the support of someone who could actually tell them that everything will be fine. And I consider myself fortunate to be able to do that for them, and and along with that, various other corporates also joined in during that time and over the last 1 or 2 years since the pandemic had hit us. And that's why those numbers could be achieved, which I said, and I, like I said, it is an absolutely humbling experience for me as well to be able to, bring that difference in everybody's life. So yes, well-being and mindfulness is catching up, but I think there has to be a lot of consistency that has to come up in that area. Yeah, I guess I've answered your question.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ektaa. So wonderfully put when you said that it's not just about physical well-being, but also taking in consideration all the aspects of well-being.
Yeah.
And with that, my next question is to Lovina. What do you believe are the major stress points for corporate professionals from a wellness perspective?
So there are a lot of stress points, but I'm just going to emphasize on 3 which have stayed relevant and which will continue to stay relevant. The first is the physical work conditions, unhealthy work environment like poor ventilation, bad furniture, workstations, and lighting. These are things which really impact the employee's health, productivity, efficiency, happiness at work, including neuromuscular health, which is so important. The second thing that is really, really important is that this interaction between work and home stress. So earlier, people would always bring work stress home, and this would impact all areas of their personal life, including the leisure time and the family time that they would spend, at home. But what has now happened is that besides that work pressure, they're also carrying domestic pressure. So this has created this vicious circle, whether the stress is from home or whether the stress is from work. This has greatly impacted their well-being, impacting the way they sleep, the way they function, and generally their tolerance and coping mechanisms to stress. And thirdly, most importantly, what has stayed and what continues to stay is long work hours. And that is absolutely crippling for a person's health and wellness. So I think these are the 3 factors which have stayed very relevant even now in the post-COVID era.
Thank you so much, Lovina. So well pointed that it's the work-life balance which has taken a grave turn, especially over the last 2 years with people being at home and the working conditions that you mentioned, which are overlooked by many corporates as well as multinational companies. So, continuing with this point, I would like to ask Rupinder, being a coach, you work on with individuals as well as corporates. So with these current scenarios and so much of disturbance in the life balance with work as well as your personal life with corporates, how do you help individuals, and how would you, what are the solution points that you've been offering your clients?
So it's a very interesting question, Latika. So my answer to that would be to each its own. Do what works the best for you. There's no one-stop solution for everybody. Depending on what exactly triggers you, when it comes to stress points or anxiety or any other concern, the mental or emotional concern that one is facing, is how the solution would be proposed. So at the same time, some real quick tips that I mean, it just works 100%, be it corporates, individuals, or anybody, which is the first and foremost, pen down. Pen down all the emotions. Emotions, very correctly, like Ektaa mentioned, that it's just not physical, it's emotional, it's mental. There's so much that we have suppressed. It doesn't, it starts to impact us in some or the other form. And when it becomes intense is when we start to experience different sort of illnesses. And that's when we realize, oh, I need to go to the doctor. Oh, I need to start off the gym. So first thing is pen down everything, write a journal, write a letter to yourself. You want to keep it, you want to burn it off. Point is, finish the story mentally in your own head. Another thing that works fantastically well is exercising. At the same time, going back to what I said, to each its own. Everybody may not be too excited about exercising, so you could pick up another form of exercising, just like Lovina said, could be yoga, or it could also be anything that excites you, cycling, aerobics, anything that gives you a physical movement. Not too great to mention, however, a temporary relief can definitely, an immediate and temporarily, what things that could bring in the relief is sweets and caffeine. So this is something which actually settles a chemical called dopamine in the brain, which gets depleted with a lot of emotions that people experience. So the moment you have such things going inside your body, it immediately pulls it up. At the same time, focusing on the wellness in a longer term, one can definitely rely on dopamine boosting foods like banana, like almonds, and so on and so forth. Just Google it and you have all the list there. It's just that people do not know what exactly will give a relief in that moment. So these three things, if one could just pick up on the go, and this is so simple and easy to do. This is something which definitely gives a relief beyond, of course, whatever the deeper concern may be.
Thank you so much, Rupinder, for all those valuable points. I'm sure our viewers will have a lot to pick up from. And now coming to Sujitesh, since you are a CHRO, you've worked in that role, what do you think about corporate mindfulness? Is it just a boardroom agenda yet, or what do you think is the reason and what is to be done?
Yeah, thanks, Latika. So mindfulness to me is all about being in the present, right? Focusing on what's happening here and now, rather than the past or the future, because that's where we all get into problems or start inviting issues. I think the fellow panelists spoke about I think the biggest skill competency that the pandemic has taught us, and what stood out for people who made it and who are not going to make it, is of resilience. So mindfulness, I would say, helps build both individual or personal resilience. At the same time, for the organization, it creates an organizational resilience. Now, we all know, the Industrial Revolution, and then now we are in the midst of the digital revolution. As organizations invest in overhauling the machinery. Going forward, and even today, I think more so, is the people's minds have become the machinery. And every organization spends or invests in overhauling the machinery. There is a need to now overhaul the people's minds, and the need for the mental health to focus on this aspect of, and mindfulness is a great mechanism to do that bit. Okay. Today, worldwide leaders are also talking about environmental sustainability, the things around us. I would say corporates need what is I refer to as workforce sustainability. Right? We may have things all around us, right? But things inside us, the inner self, that needs to also sustain given the increasing pressures of life and also work. However, the disappointing fact is corporate mindfulness or well-being is still not a strategic imperative. And the reason could be many, but one of the things I see is that it doesn't have a strategic owner, right? It does have an operational owner, the human resource function or the leader or a team. And we have seen several series of piecemeal initiatives, policies, but they all are short-term focus needs. And people look at it from a short term because the benefits tend to accrue for tomorrow and not today. So they are today, very fragmented, random approaches. And another problem could be how organizations are structured, right? And I think a lot of things could change if we reimagine organization structures and imperatives. But clearly what needs to be done, as I see from a corporate standpoint, is to move from the short-term crisis mindset of managing to having well-being and mindfulness and the health aspects in terms of having it part of the long-term planning. So that's what I would say needs to be done.
Thank you so much, Sujitesh. So wonderfully put, as you said, that moving from short-term crisis management perspective to taking it as a long-term overall perspective in the organizations. And as you said, that the environmental sustainability is also about internal sustainability. And Lovina, I would like to check with you. You have an extensive experience in conducting corporate wellness workshops. Do you believe corporates are prioritizing the well-being of their employees in the real sense?
So, well, I have had an experience to say both. Yeah, some of them don't prioritize it at all, and some of them really give it a lot of priority. But I think what is now very important, and especially we are talking about the post-COVID era, is that everything has changed, and with people working so much out of their homes. So it is extremely important for every corporation to kind of rethink and to really think of innovative ways in which they're going to get employee engagement and they're going to promote well-being. So they have to really make it a priority. And what I completely believe is that if they were to think that a personal well-being can be treated as a tangible skill, something that's really important, they would really go out and make sure that the employees really find time to nurture themselves. And they would also take so much of interest because they would want to see their employees well. So it's very important for them to look at this entire situation and ask themselves three questions. What are the possible stressors? What are the things that are really stressing out their employees? And secondly, who is the most impacted in the organization with the kind of stressors? And the third, most importantly, are they doing enough? Are they consistent? Are they persistent? And are they really creating this atmosphere where stress does not become like a natural birthright of everybody, because everybody just wears it like a badge saying that I'm stressed out. In fact, they should, on the contrary, say that, I am feeling so balanced, I am feeling so empowered, I am motivated each day working. So I think this is where the organizations need to now rethink everything.
Thank you so much, Lovina. So wonderfully put. I love the point that you said employee engagement and well-being. I firmly believe if corporates and organizations can actually make well-being of an employee a part of employee engagement, most of the points, as you said, stressors, half of it would probably just go out of the window like that, because the employee would feel engaged and a part of the organization. Also, coming back to Ektaa, as per your understanding, Ektaa, what do you think are the steps that need to be taken to increase awareness regarding mental health in the workplace?
See, as far as the steps that should be taken are concerned, I feel the first and foremost thing is to be proactive. What is happening is most of the organizations that are now, getting involved in having these corporate wellness programs conducted in their organizations, it's more of a reactive approach than a proactive approach. I still feel if this same thing would have been done before the pandemic hit us, we would have been far more ready to handle the situation better. We would have been, in a way, more empowered and resistant to the way things happen. Because in the beginning, everybody was trying to find out what is the right way to handle things. What should be done? What should be done? And it wasn't that easy to get the answers, only because we had not paid the right attention to the well-being of the employees right in the beginning. It was, like I said, it was more of a sporadic thing. You'll have it done in once in a probably 6 months, or more so like a team building exercise. It was more like a team building exercise than an actual idea of bringing the attention and awareness to well-being. So I do feel proactiveness is something that needs to be there. And then the second part I would say is consistency. So in order to make well-being, wellness more easily achievable, easily attainable, easily receivable to people, it's important to make it more consistent. Awareness will happen only when there is a consistency of giving that information, receiving that information. If there is no consistency, the entire effort of bringing well-being and wellness in the organization is all lost. So I do feel that there are organizations, and I have come across certain organizations where they are very ready to bring well-being as a part of their not just employee engagement, but as a part of culture. And that is something that I also promote, a corporate wellness culture in the organization. And I talk about it in various forums where I say that building a corporate wellness culture is what is more important than having just one-off sessions of well-being and wellness or mindfulness. It's all about building a culture where we instill a consistency in our wellness. So yeah, like I said, there are a few organizations like Microsoft is one organization I can think of offhand, which has gotten into providing 1 day off every month as a mental well-being day off. So every employee gets a 1 day off. They can take it whenever they want. So it's a very small step, but I think it's a very vital step, at least acknowledging that yes, we need to give that day off to our employees to think about their mental well-being or invest in their mental well-being in some way or the other. So as far as awareness is concerned, before awareness, there has to be proactiveness, there has to be consistency, and there has to be that initiation of doing something in order to make it more of a culture than just a sporadic event or just a part of social bringing together everybody. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. And so well put, you said that awareness comes through consistency, and before consistency comes proactiveness. Taking this point forward, Rupinder, I would like to ask you, what is for you are the reasons behind working professionals, especially at corporates, facing distress in their own lives, and what are the points of organization here?
Very, very important thing. Where does this entire distress originate from? Scientifically speaking, there could be environmental factors like we have mentioned earlier in this session. It could be their own thought patterns that is triggering all of this. There could be medical factors. Some people's brains are such from the beginning, where slightest of the chemical reaction or slightest of the events, to simply put, will trigger a whole lot. And there could be people where they have had some sort of a trauma in their lives, which could be at a personal level. Most likely, it's usually at a personal level, which could be, say, for example, a major accident. It could be separation of a loved one. It could be a happy event as marriage, or it just could be a divorce. So these are top or major events that creates a lot of traumatic or an important experience that changes a person's life for about 70 to 80%. The entire personality changes, the shape of brain can change, and it just leaves an individual with a lot of chemical reactions in the brain. Like we have discussed earlier, that since it is mental health, emotional health, these are not the tangible things. You just can't go get yourself into a machine and have some nice graph or report coming up, and then, okay, hey, that's the status of your mental health, and this is your emotional health, and this is just not going right. So one needs to be conscious of it. Life happens. Priorities will keep changing, and the only thing that is lost under the pressure of our own experiences and cognitive biases is your own self. And that is how this entire stress, anxiety, further leading to depression, or could be whatever different names that people just may want to give to this mental state, this is where it all originates from. So in a nutshell, for a layman, where does it originate from? It's all our own suppressed emotions. Right from the childhood, we've been told and we've been trained already to have so many cognitive biases, like something very simple. Look at other people, look at your friends. They are getting they're performing so well, you are not. Reaching to a point where we incorporate, okay, there is an appraisal, oh, that person has gotten X percentage of hike and I have gotten this. So imagine the pressure on the brain of comparison, of performance. Where does it all go? If you talk about it, you become the bad person. If you don't talk about it, you keep it inside. So the story in your brain keeps revolving in loop. It does not end. And that is where all the reactions in the brain happen. And slowly and steadily, it just keeps to elevate, and then boom. Welcome to the world of stress and anxiety. And now you go to a doctor, conveniently take some pills, and then keep wondering, why am I not feeling hungry? Why I'm losing my hair for all I know? Why am I not able to sleep? And so on and so forth. So it all originates from suppressed emotions, which is a very less acknowledged fact.
Thank you so much, Rupinder. As you rightly said, that everybody comes with their own thought patterns, and when we all come together in an organization, we are sharing not just our thought patterns, but we're sharing our lives off the workplace, in the sense of, because we make personal bonds as well, and whatever patterns we come from, they also impact our effectiveness at the workplace. So Sujitesh, I'd like to ask you, bring your own mind to workplace. Can this be a policy-driven process? Can it be defined, measured, analyzed, improved, and specially controlled?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. Bring your own mind to work. We've heard about bring your own device to work, and then we started use your own device at work, and then use your own home to work, right? So I think bring your own mind to work is possibly what we are going to look at in future. So I think I couldn't agree more with my fellow panelists, but let's first admit that well-being needs intrinsic motivation and commitment. It's just not about going and implementing it. At the same time, it's very, very personal, and all organizational contexts They are unique. No two organizational contexts are the same. Neither no two individuals are the same. So they're all going to be different, right? I think what you called out in terms of the define, measure, analyze, improve, control, right? This is the Six Sigma way of doing things. If we can put a process and therefore a policy-driven process of a DMAIC framework, it will just be great. And let me kind of elaborate a little bit on this. First, I'll come to define. Very important to establish the baseline, that is what's driving well-being or what's driving the need for well-being. Now, there could be burnout. Now, the burnout risk could be individual driven. It could be leadership driven. And at the same time, I think there was reference to culture. So what is the source of burnout? A lot of times people think that it's only individuals who are causing themselves to burn out, or it's the work that is causing. But I have seen in my experience, more than the work burnout, it is the people, the thought about other people, or the people's style of getting things done at work actually create more burnout. In the definition phase of this particular process, if you have to do it, very important to be role modeling from the top. The leadership needs to walk the talk and then encourage the grassroots, right? Just preaching the importance of sleep, but sending emails post midnight or calling up for some crisis of emergency, that's not going to help. Right? There was a lot of talk about consistency. Yeah, I would support definitely consistency and the possibilities, right? From podcasts to community walls, the possibilities to educate, energize, empower the workforce is just endless. Okay. Yeah, post defining what you need and why you need, the phase of measurement. What is measured gets managed, and measurement indicates that management is really thinking. When you seek evidence, you track how the budget, because money is involved, right? Well-being also comes at a cost. What kind of workshops have been delivered? What kind of calls were made to the vulnerable team members? Did the line managers have their one-to-one, right? All of this, tracking this, measuring this, gives a good indication about how well-being is getting permeated across the company. Next, we'll come to analyze. Now, in the analysis side of phase, it's neither leadership nor the workforce, but the people in the middle, right? They are the most important, the line managers. They are very, very critical. They are the ones who are most closest to their teams, and they should be aware of any behavioral changes that's happening. Are there some people who are getting over emotional? Are they highly sensitive? They suddenly started to lack some attention or focus. It can be as simple as managers asking team members, are they okay, right? And that itself is a good way of starting to address any issues. And honestly, nobody needs special training as long as some basic people skills management are adhered to. This helps. At the same time, there have to be targeted interventions that cover entire organization, while one size doesn't fit all. And even burnouts. There could be burnouts where I have seen very highly engaged employees. They're working beyond their schedules, burning the candles, and they result in burnouts. At the similar time, another team which doesn't have enough autonomy to work and gets micromanaged also gets burnt out. So the way to get about doing the target interventions is not actually people should look at the ones who are creating the noise, who are asking for help, but at the same time focus on those who are the silent lot, who are not seeking the help, because they also need enough attention and care. On the improvement side, I would definitely advocate, and some of the good organizations who are into this journey have started incorporating well-being into the annual cycles of talent management, organizational development, or performance management. It's like we used to have, I remember when in our childhood, I used to hear about safety first months. So similarly, I now see, there are wellness months, and fellow panelists spoke about wellness days, or a day off, or a certain weekly off. It has to be part of the annual maintenance schedule, part of the leadership principles, and not only individual well-being but team well-being should act as a mandatory criteria when leadership gets evaluated. And last but not the least, I think the aspect of the control, right? I think control would come when we talk about a long-term commitment, a result-driven behavior. It's an iterative process, and organizational systems can be extremely complex. So the controls have to be also sensitive in the nature. With changing situations, there are tools that can be brought in. One of the examples I would quote is from an operational background is the balance scorecard. So we could also have a balance scorecard that kind of plots the organizational well-being, and in that light highlight the individual well-being. Just so basically the control idea is to make managers, make leadership, and overall the organization accountable for well-being. Right? So if that happens, then definitely we can bring your own mind to work.
Thank you so much, Sujitesh. So aptly put, as you said, that it's not just a one-pointer thing, but it's a whole process to be put into place. And I really wish, and I'm sure all of you do as well, that balanced scorecard could possibly be one of the best things, because it's going to trickle down the effect from top to the bottom. And coming back to Ektaa on this, you work, as your work focuses on inner transformation, what is the most effective way for people working in high stress environments to cope with their work pressure?
So yeah, I was going to talk about this part as well, where I was wanting to discuss about inner self transformation, and this was something also being talked about by my fellow panelists as well, that bringing that attention to your inner self can really help in managing stress, in even looking at life from different perspectives. So when you talk about mindfulness, it's about being in the present, being in the now. All of that is important, but at the same time, having the knowledge of what do you do after knowing that you're in the present and in the now. Because I've had a lot of people, who have been practicing mindfulness, and at some points they said that, while practicing mindfulness, while they were in the present and now, they felt stressed out because they just couldn't handle the present situation at that moment. Maybe it was very stressful for them, or maybe it was something that they didn't want to address, but it was coming in front of them, and because they were trying to practice mindfulness, they said that we had to be in the present and in the now. So the idea about when you talk about inner self transformation, it's all about looking at life and looking at perspectives from not from the way that we hear from everybody, because as some of the panelists also said that everything is it should be in a way that to each your own, like something that suits you, suits your mind, suits your body. So even when I conduct my one-on-one sessions, at times I have to tell people that it has to be something which is of your own. You can't always follow what is being talked about or what is being followed by everybody, because everybody is different. We all have different minds, we all have different experiences, and we all have different stressors. What might stress me out may not stress you out. So how can we follow the same technique? So same way, it's all about connecting to your inner self, knowing what works for you and what doesn't, and then following it in a manner which not just helps you to reduce stress, but also finds a way so that the stressors don't come so much in front of you. So meditation is something that I help a lot of people to practice. Again, I don't really follow one single technique when I'm teaching meditation. I generally help people to find their own ways on how they can meditate better, on how they can find their own, meditating technique. Like a lot of times people say that we can't visualize. So when you can't visualize, you can't ask them to visualize. There has to be other ways. Similarly, when you talk about looking within, again, it can't be just by one technique. So meditation is definitely one technique that I talk about, but then I also share various ways by which you can manage your mindfulness as well. So like I mentioned a little earlier, that how do you use that mindfulness? So one way is when you become aware of the present and now, but what are you doing about that knowing what is in the present and now? Sometimes you need to release those emotions. Sometimes you need to let go of those emotions. Now, there can be various techniques that might help you. There can be certain techniques which might not help you. But the idea is to become aware of it. So I generally, use this one way by which I tell them that, there are 3 A's to everything. So one is definitely awareness, where you become aware of how you're feeling, what you're feeling. Then the second part is where you acknowledge it, that, okay, I'm feeling like this. Do I analyze it, or do I stop myself from analyzing it? A lot of problems, a lot of stress comes out when we start analyzing our situations. When we start looking into why is it happening, how is it happening, what, like one question that everybody tells me is, why is it happening to me? The moment we ask this question, it takes us into a spree of stress. We just go into a stressful situation. So this idea of acknowledging that, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And the third part is taking action. So action can be in the form of meditation. Action can be also in the form of moving away from that situation. Action can also be in the form of distracting yourself. Action can also be in the form of putting your mind into something which you enjoy. So action can be anything. The idea is to first becoming aware of it, knowing what works for you, knowing what doesn't work for you, and then actioning on it. So I feel if we are aware of our own inner self in a better way, if we are using that knowledge in the correct manner, I think half of the battle is won when it comes to managing stress. And then the next part, the half, is just actioning on it.
Thank you so much, Ektaa, for these wonderful views. How wonderfully you put it, that it's not just about the awareness, but what matters the most is the action that you take once you have the awareness.
Yes.
And with that, I would like to ask Lovina, when you conduct wellness workshops for employees, what are the most important lessons that you wish for them to take away from the experience for a better work-life balance?
So Latika, I try to make it really simple, and I just try to tell them to take that one lesson away. So all of us in the corporate scenario, I'm sure all my co-panelists over here, if I were to ask you on an average, how many meetings do you have every day? The answer is anything between 5 to 6 meetings, minimum. I only request them to have one meeting with themselves every day and make it the most important meeting. And they have an agenda. The agenda is called the 6G agenda, not the phone network. It's basically starting off with analyzing what's good in my life. Yeah? What do I have gratitude for? And when you think of the good and when you think of the gratitude, problems and obstacles which look like these big stressors, these mountains that we need to really get over, they seem to be glitches. They don't seem to be so bad. Once you have identified that, I tell them now go in for the 4G, which is identify your goals. What are your goals? What do you want to do? And once you have listed your goals, comes the 5G, which is the most important, is that this aspect of being very gentle to yourself, self-care, self-preservation, self-love, and just approaching every situation with a lot of gentleness. And when you have managed to get through all these 5Gs, that is when I tell them that every situation in your life, just make sure that you are always guarding that G, guarding your health and happiness. And nothing should come in the way of your health and happiness. So seriously, it just comes down to one message that I give them, and this is a workshop I do. I tell them that just have that most essential meeting, that you're accountable to yourself. And that can really set the tempo for you to really start valuing your health and wellness.
Very well said, Lovina. When you said that, those 6G agenda that you talked about, I really loved the idea. And especially the most essential meeting is the one that one needs to have with their own self. So as Lovina so well put it, I'd like to ask Sujitesh, if mindfulness was to have a valuation, would it be priceless? And should it also be a CSR agenda of corporates?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, right? What is the value of inner peace and being mindful? But yeah, let me answer that from a corporate standpoint. At corporates we tend to spend a lot of things on a lot of aspects. But I would still say that the median spend on well-being, both internationally and if you look at closer home in India, is one of the lowest amongst all the line items that one would see if you put a financial ledger. It's like possibly the bottom three. Okay? And that may happen because when we are valuing or when we are allocating budgets, this is something that we don't consider as so important in the organizational context of making a difference, right? And in the absence of maybe meaningful matrices or the ROI, how does it link with the business performance? How does it look at long-term sustainability, etc.? I think those things need to get established, right? But the good news is, and I'm hearing this, I'm reading this, that investors, which are very, very closely have started looking at saying that, if the employee well-being is not there, then that must be impacting something in the business, whether it is absenteeism. People may still be present at work, but maybe half-hearted, half-minded, right? The demographics of the workplace is changing. So the investor outlook on well-being, if that comes in, definitely that becomes a component of how organizations get valued. And yeah, then maybe we start seeing a valuation to mindfulness aspect as well. On your other question that you talked about, should it be a CSR agenda? I strongly believe yes. Why not? I mean, if educating people, looking at the environment can be CSR agenda. Remember that it's not just some individual problems that cause issues with wellness, issues with all the stress, anxiety, depression, fear. Right? There's so much happening around us, politically, socially. There is unrest. There are natural disasters. I mean, look at around us, and we'll find either a cyclone or an earthquake, and that causes trouble. I mean, these are add-ons to everything that we have seen during the pandemic. And with that, the organizations also have to keep changing because there is a market volatility. Economies are going to be under pressure. So there's so much of changes that keep happening, and therefore, well-being, the emotional well-being, or physical well-being, and today I think social well-being is being talked about. The financial well-being is talked about. So I would say that yes, it has to be a CSR agenda. May look intangible, may not be linear, but a range of options which can be proactively thought about. And I was happy to know that in the recent World Economic Forum, there has been a stress on chief wellness officers, so health officers or medical officers, either they are within the organization or they act as consultants. So I think at a very, very high macro level, these things are coming on as an agenda, both from an investor's perspective as well as a social responsible corporate. And hopefully in the future, this would take center stage and it becomes mainstream. Yeah, we don't tell now the way MasterCard used to say, right? For everything which is other than priceless, MasterCard has a solution. Hopefully we get a solution on that.
Thank you so much, Sujitesh. Thanks for sharing your views and so aptly put that, just like MasterCard says, for everything there can always be a solution. Things are, everything else is priceless. So coming back, before we wrap up the session, coming back to Rupinder, I would like to ask, as you view the situation scientifically, what would be your quick tips from your end that could help people to balance their overall health and wellness?
I like the word that you used. I view everything scientifically. Yes, I totally love everything research-based, logical. At the same time, very, very simply put. So wellness, mental health, emotional health, whatever said and done, to me, it's something which is very simple. I mean, it's very interesting that people would put some keywords in Google, what to do, why is this happening, like why, important question, and so on and so forth. And then they have like this entire list, entire readings, articles, and so on and so forth. Not required. So it's very, very simple. What can be done if I'm not feeling good? Please, when you know, do exactly what you would do when you sit in a car which you know will crash. Which is, don't sit in that car. Stop yourself the moment you're just extending your hand to open the door of that car. It's just the loop of the habit. It's just the brain trick, nothing else. The moment you notice anything out of the ordinary in your routine, like I mentioned earlier, sleep patterns disturbed, eating patterns disturbed, it's the easiest to figure out. One knows it. Mood swings, very easy. Even in the corporate entities, you see that deadlines are being missed. So these are some performances are dipping, absenteeism, like we spoke about. These are very, very basic things. Out of the ordinary, you notice something, please be aware in that moment that I am reaching out to a car which is about to crash. So just stop yourself right there, break your thought process, get into the exercising, meditation, yoga, eating good food, whatever you cherish, music, for all I know, go for walks. And if one is not wanting to do any of this, simplest that you can do is do not walk on a negative path, at least stay neutral. Do not go on, switch on the TV and watch everything about who died, how many COVID cases and what not. At least do not start off, speak with your friends, but please refrain from discussing deaths and illnesses and who lost the job and how bad your manager is and what is the culture of the company and everything is going wrong and so on and so forth, how the economy is going down, and even if it is not, just don't talk negative. So just stop there, pause. That's the best you can do. If nothing else, just go off to sleep. But do not create more damage. So it's very simple. And like I said, simplest, eat sweets. Some reaction in the brain will settle down, and then you could just take your time to understand that what is it that you really truly like and something that you can commit to yourself. That this is something that I can do. And I'm pretty sure as children we all have loved outdoor activities, and we would have had some or the other favorite exercise. Explore. I mean, there's nothing to lose. So it's all very, very simple. It's just your willingness to do it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your lovely insights, Rupinder. Quite precise and practical as well. And with this, we come to an end of our discussion. And as all our lovely, beautiful, wonderful panelists have mentioned, keeping it simple, penning down your emotions. Mindfulness is all about building resilience, checking your own thought patterns, and making it a corporate wellness culture. I'm sure that, once we all start doing our individual aspect, work to it, we together can come and remove the I out of the illness and make it wellness. So I would like to thank all our panelists today, and I'm sure our viewers are going to get a lot of insights from this wonderful discussion and take some points home, and the corporates will inculcate from all the expert viewpoints and make it a mission to incorporate corporate wellness in their own organizations. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. It has been a wonderful discussion and very, very insightful.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Latika.
Thank you, Latika.
Lovina, Rupinder, for all
And
the
beautiful meeting all the co-panelists was very, very innovative, was very motivating listening to all of you.
Absolutely. So was it for me. I mean, putting the names to the faces, putting the faces to the names was what made all the difference, you know.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.